Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. If you used to listen to us on Mile High Sports Radio, it is literally the same crew. It's me and Bruce doing the show together. Alex, bring yourself in, because Alex was the producer of our show. So right now, it's the three amigos doing the same thing, just not on radio. And the funny thing is, Alex and I were talking about it before the show began. In a million years, when I started my television career, the word podcast wasn't even a thought. But even as of 10 years ago, Bruce, I never thought I'd be doing a podcast. And you know what? I can say this now. Well, shit, here we are. See, now I can say that.
Thank you for that. And glad to have Alex in particular along, because he's the brains of the operation. You and I are kind of the gray matter. So, and in my case, particularly the gray matter, but you know what I mean. So off we go, and excited to be all back. I feel like we should have Peaches and Herb singing Reunited underneath us. So good stuff to get going. So without further ado, let's roll.
Well, you know what? Our first glitch just happened. You froze. So that doesn't happen on radio. That happened here, and that's totally okay. This is our first show. It's our maiden voyage. And by the way, I want to give a real big shout out to Danny Bailey and to Alex, who worked tirelessly to get all of these graphics up for the show, putting in commercials, putting in liners. I mean, I gave a directive, but quite frankly, my job was easy. I just needed to be organized. But for the two of them, all the work they put in to allow us to go on the air today, Alex and Danny, thank you very much. Before we really get rolling on this thing, Colorado State, man, in the NCAA tournament, how badly do you feel for them?
It was the most gut-wrenching for someone who didn't have skin in the game. Obviously, I was pulling for Colorado State, obviously, but didn't have what you would normally define as skin in the game. It was as gut-wrenching a game watching it as I've ever seen. The last 6 innings, you had the ultimate high of Lake catching and hitting the three-point shot to take the lead, and then a by a freshman, very calm, under control move to the basket where he was really defended, and Eric just rose up and hit the shot over really good defense. And I know there's a lot of Colorado Staters talking about it was traveling, it was this, it was that. Look, those things even out during the course of the game. They are magnified tremendously at the end of the game. I get it. It was a hell of a play. And Maryland advances to the Sweet 16. And unfortunately, Colorado State comes home and is now very much battling with the possibility that their head coach may be headed to Minnesota, which is, by the way, where Nico Medved is from, where he grew up in Minneapolis. So if that happens, I suppose you tip your hat. You thank him very much for what he's done for you for the last 7 years, and you move forward.
Okay, Alex, come on back in the picture here. We're having some glitches with Bruce, with the video. At least I'm seeing it on my end. Is it Bruce needs to get some high-speed internet, or is he still on dial-up?
Well, I mean, that's just the world of StreamYard from you. Sometimes it'll freeze up for a sec, but the good news is once we do download it, it does look a lot better. But that's the world we live in. Not everyone's internet is perfect. So, you know, it happens. We'll work through it.
Before we get to the lead, Bruce, you have some thoughts on the tournament being here in Denver.
Yeah, I love well, obviously, anything that makes our city a hub for events like this is a good thing, a great thing, in fact. But my observation on the tournament in Denver has more to do with the tournament in general. You look at the Sweet 16 now, Eric. What is the magic of the NCAA tournament? It's those programs, those VCUs, Wichita States, you name them, those teams that come from not this year. It is chalk.
Arkansas is the Cinderella.
Right. I mean, now think about, and that's an SEC team. one of 8 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. Then you've got a bunch from the Big Ten, and then you've got one from the ACC. So what we're having, and I think this was interesting, Buzz Williams, I was at his press conference, the head coach from Wisconsin, or from Texas A&M, excuse me. I was at his press conference on Saturday, and he was talking very specifically and in very cautioned tones about the separation of the haves and the have-nots in the age of NIL. And we're seeing it right now in the NCAA basketball tournament. The one thing that we always looked forward to for the little guys to have a chance against the big guys, and that's overstating it and oversimplifying it. But all of a sudden, that story has been totally removed from March Madness. March Madness is March calmness, because now all the power schools are the ones that are going to be in the Sweet 16. I was thinking about this last night. I am hard-pressed to go back and look at a Sweet 16 that doesn't have that quote-unquote, and I don't like the term, but I'll use it for the lack of something better, that Cinderella story. There isn't one in this tournament. When John Calipari at Arkansas is the biggest Cinderella story, I'm sorry, Cinderella has been thwarted.
Well, help me out here, because I want to make sure I understand it. I understand what you mean by NIL. Are you saying that guys who are 10, 11, 12 on the bench for power schools are going, those kids are going there for the money, and that's why they're so deep?
I'm just saying,
because honestly, the best kids are going to be one and done. Still, they're going to be one and done. Right.
But they're still going to be one and done at Kentucky. And they're still going to be one and done at the premier schools that we're seeing right now. I do think that NIL has the component of stealing depth.
I'll be honest. I think you're taking 1 year, because NIL has been around for a while.
Man, I haven't been around that long.
Well, I know, but 3 years, 4 years, right?
I mean, look at Florida Atlantic. Look at Florida Atlantic.
Let me tell you why. Okay. Let me tell you why I think you're jumping the shark a little bit here. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, as I think about what you are saying, the power schools, generally speaking, have their players stay 1, maybe 2 years, maybe 3. When you have schools like Colorado State, those kids are staying all 4 years. And that's what made the mid-majors and the smaller schools competitive against younger, more talented teams. I'm not saying this year is an aberration, but before I launch into NIL as the reason for the Sweet 16, I need to see more data. I need to see more.
And that's fair. And that's a fair take. And I'm not saying that it's directly NIL, but I think that I think the settings have been placed now. And I think that we are starting to see, and this is part of what Buzz Williams was talking about on Saturday. I think that you're going to continue to see more separation between the traditional haves and have-nots in college basketball. Maybe this year is an aberration. I hope it is. I hope it's an aberration, because I think that the tournament this year has really lacked strong storylines. I mean, we've had some obviously the Colorado State game yesterday with Maryland was a great game. There were a couple of other ones too through the first 4 days. I'm not saying that, but we end up with a very, to me, uninteresting Sweet 16 of very familiar faces. And maybe we do need more data. Maybe 5 years down the stretch, we'll have better information. Who knows?
Here's the Sweet 16 from last year. UConn, San Diego State, Illinois, Iowa State. 3 of those Power 4, Power 5 schools, or whatever you want to call them. North Carolina, Alabama, Clemson, Arizona. That's chalk right there. Marquette, NC State, Houston, Duke. Then you have Purdue, Gonzaga, Creighton, Tennessee. So if my math is correct, you have 4 non-Power 5 schools last year.
Yeah, and North Carolina State was obviously a power school, right?
Yeah, this year it's 0.
A power school that obviously made a deep run. But your point is good, and actually, I mean, to your point, it kind of backs up what we're talking about, because you can argue that Gonzaga and Creighton are major brands right now. One playing in the West Coast Conference, right. One playing in the Big East. So, right. I mean, those are pretty serious brands right now. I don't know. We'll see. That was just my sense in spending 4 days down there at that tournament. It was a source of conversation. I think it's something that we need to probably pay attention to. And if it is what it is moving forward, then so be it. I just have missed it. I've missed those storylines. That's where I'll leave it.
Hey, real quick, want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. I went to the original location in the DTC well over 10 years ago, and it was still pretty close to my house. It's right off of Arapahoe Road. But then they built one in Highlands Ranch, and this thing is unbelievable. How much do I like this place? I was there twice over the weekend. One time to watch the games on Thursday, and then went there with Mandy, my wife, on Saturday to watch more games. Why do I go there? Well, for starters, the menu is absolutely outstanding. It's upscale. It's an upscale menu. 12 different burgers, great wings, too many sauces to count. And if you like Philly cheesesteaks, they have Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They're amazing. Now, besides the food and the drinks and the drink specials, they have every game you could possibly imagine. Probably more games than any other bar in town, by far. Of course, they have the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass. But they also show soccer matches from all over the world, rugby, and UFC. At the Highlands Ranch location, it was so cool watching the tournament there. They have a huge LED wall where you were able to watch basically 6 to 8 games going on simultaneously. Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in Highlands Ranch. You can find them in the DTC. Coming soon to Parker as well. They are the sports bar. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
AA tournament. Are you suddenly less interested now? Really? Because I'm not. I don't want to see Florida Atlantic in there. I don't. I mean,
wow.
I understand.
Well, you're seeing Florida Atlantic all over the tournament. I mean, yeah. I mean, the reason that Golden basically carried Michigan into the Sweet 16. He had a career game. That's a guy playing at Florida Atlantic. He got guys all over the place from Florida Atlantic. I do like that. We can agree to disagree on that.
I like it. I don't love it.
And that's okay.
I like it. I don't love it.
Okay, fair enough. I like it early. I don't like it late. And I think you and I have talked about this in the past. It gives the NCAA tournament its early charm, right? And you revel in that. But by the time that you get to the Sweet 16 and by the time that you get to the Elite Eight, you're still back to give me the war horses, give me the names that I know, even though in the age of NIL, I don't know the names anymore, but give me at least the brands and the coaches that I know. We had an early one with Calipari and Pitino. That was kind of fun. Okay. But give me those in the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four. I get it. It's not ruining the experience for me by any stretch of imagination, mainly because I've got a really good draw going in some of my office pools. But, hey, that's another. I'm doing okay. I'm 13 of 16. 13 of 16 into the final, into the Sweet 16. So, but how hard has it been to pick this year, Eric? It's been chalk.
Well, let me just say this, Bruce, okay? And I'm going to say this now. I've said this on social media. Talking about how you've done through the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament is like telling me about your fantasy football team. Again, I can say this because it's a podcast. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I really don't care about anybody's fantasy football team. And when somebody tells me about their office pool, and they're in multiple office pools. Are you in multiple? Bruce, are you in multiple office pools? Did we lose Bruce on the inaugural show, Alex?
No. I'm in one pool, and it's not an office pool. I'm in a family pool.
Okay.
But so there's good money.
You're only in one. You're only in one. Is that correct? Is that correct? You're in one pool?
One.
See,
yeah, that's right.
Okay. And that's fine. I want to hear from you because you're my friend. But what I don't want to hear is I picked this upset and this upset and this upset and this upset.
Oh, no.
Well, how many office pools are you in? Well, I'm in 5.
Right.
And that's the thing.
That's fair.
Good on you for picking the upsets. Why don't you tell us about the other sheets that you had to rip up? Everybody wants to talk about their wins in Vegas. Nobody talks about their losses, right? And to your point about the NCAA tournament, everybody loves to see a 3 knock off, a 14 knock off a 3, or a 15 knock off a 2. Mm-hmm. I love that early. I just don't want to see a bunch of those teams, I'm sorry, in the Elite 8. I just don't. Now, if a Butler squeezes through,
fair enough.
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm cool with that. I just don't want to see a bunch of them. And everybody loves a good upset, right? I do. I just don't want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's one way to put it. I know it sounds crazy. All you have to do is win 6 games in a row to win the title. That's it. So when Florida Atlantic went to the I know it sounds it's a lot. I get it.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
So Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four. Is that correct?
Correct. They won 4 straight games to get there.
Okay.
Put them 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Right.
And good on them that they caught fire at the right time and yada, yada, yada. But if we're being completely honest here, throw them in the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12. They don't have a winning record. They caught lightning in a bottle. They're like the Rockies of 2007. They caught lightning in a bottle. Good on you. I don't want to see them play for a national championship. Do you think Butler, when Butler went to the Final Four 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
Do you really think they would have survived the Big 10? No.
Well, I mean, Gordon Hayward was 1 inch differently. They would have been national champions. But I hear you. I think Butler, though, probably proved itself. Butler's another one that's a brand. Now, they've fallen off a little bit, but that's a brand. Yeah. Xavier is a brand. Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
Gonzaga is a brand.
Fair enough.
I'm with you on that. All right. Already in our first ever show, I've completely screwed up the rundown because we were supposed to lead with Nuggets, and then we were going to talk about the draft being 1 week from today. Alex, I screwed up your rundown, totally on me. With that, coming up after the break, the Nuggets had a really nice win last night, but does it really register with you knowing they got embarrassed by the Wizards, they got embarrassed by Portland, and honestly, you have no idea which team is showing up night in, night out, and honestly, is that really a formula for going deep in the playoffs? We'll talk about that next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everybody has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. It's everything a sports bar should be. Upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game. NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. This is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar. All right, welcome back to Hot Takes. Goodman and Haertl, brought to you by the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC and Highlands Ranch. Nuggets win last night. Good win. They're a good enough team to beat pretty much any team in the league. They beat the Houston Rockets, a team on a 9-game winning streak. Jokic didn't play again. Jamal Murray, 37 points. It was an impressive win. I think you'd agree with that, Bruce. However, losing 2 of their last 5 to Washington, a garbage team. Honestly, I don't know which team is worse, the Washington Wizards or the Washington Generals, and Portland, in which the Nuggets literally threw up on their shirt in front of everybody. So does the win over the Rockets move the needle for you at all about how you feel about this team heading into the playoffs with 10 regular season games to play?
Yeah, does it move the needle? Yeah, I think. But I still don't trust this team. And we are now, 72 games into this season or whatever it is. I think there's 10 games left. And I don't think Michael Malone truly knows still what he has or doesn't have on this team. Think about the extremes, Eric, that we're hearing from Michael Malone almost nightly now. In Portland, he's ready to have them walk the plank collectively, but ready to throw up his hands and say, I'm done with this raggedy crew. 2 nights later, they go to Houston, the second best record in the West, a team playing extremely well and handle their business. Now, they were dominating that game until, the latter part of the game, and they blew like a 14-point lead late, but still held on and won the game without Nikola Jokic on the road. I'm not sure what really to make of this team, other than I don't think you can trust them game in and game out. They've got, 5 straight games now that they're playing at home. Okay, let's wait and see what we get. I don't think Jokic is playing tonight against the Bulls. He's got a very kind of testy ankle that he's dealing with right now. Getting him back, the sooner the better. But, hey, right now there's no real reason to play unless you look at the standings and are really honest about where the Nuggets are right now. They're only a game ahead of the Lakers that are right behind them in 4th. They're only like a game and a half ahead of 5th, and they're like 3.5 games ahead of 6th. This team could be anywhere from 2nd to 6th to, God forbid, playing in the play-in round. And I'm not sure that we still know what we have here. I don't know what Michael Malone can really trust from one game to the next.
I was listening to some post-game analysis following the Nuggets game against, Portland? And somebody commented, Malone put in Russell Westbrook for his defense. And I'm like, are you joking? I mean, that's what you got? I mean, it's not KCP. It's not Bruce Brown. I get it. But they put in Russell Westbrook for his – how porous is this defense if you are putting in Russell Westbrook to help out defensively? I mean, it's not a knock on him. He's a Hall of Famer, MVP guy. I get it. But no, he's not a defensive guy. With that, Denver Post columnist Troy Renk, who also, by the way, has a podcast on milehighsports.com, wrote this about the Nuggets over the weekend, and wow, was it strong. Said this, quote, Michael Malone hates the Nuggets defense, and his players don't care. Then Malone said after that game against Portland, I didn't think we played with any pride, which you can certainly make that case, and I think everybody would agree with that. Getting back to what Troy wrote, which is Michael Malone hates the Nuggets defense and his players don't care. Is Troy spot on about that analysis? And how much of a concern do you have about the Nuggets, not only this season, but potentially next season, unless they take a wrecking ball to this roster?
I was concerned with this team pretty much from Jump Street. And
Correct.
I'm surprised that they didn't try to make, and look, I'm not saying that they didn't try to make moves, but they didn't change the general configuration and the foundation and the base of this team at all. Now, they've been hurt by the injury to Swather, but he's not a defensive component. And to your point, right, I mean, he's a scorer, right? I mean, that's it. He's a shooter. He's not going to stop anyone from scoring, but this team doesn't stop people. And I think that Troy's remark is strong, and I don't disagree with it. I do think they try to turn it on at various times. Their clutch defense is still much more highly regarded, for instance, than their regular defense. Eric, this was a top 10 defensive team a year ago. This is a bottom 8 defense in the league now. That is who they are. And do we
who's
really
coming off your bench? Bruce, who's coming off your bench? Who are your bench guys? Russell Westbrook. Who else? Peyton Watson. Who else? Strother.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be Strother if he gets healthy again, right? You know,
so
and that's probably
those 3 guys. Two of those guys
right?
are not defensive players.
No, and it's an 8-man rotation. That's what they'll go with. And you know, Malone, he shrinks the bench quickly anyway, going to the postseason. So, and the thought that this group is so uninterested in playing defense because somehow they can just turn it on in the playoffs, to me, is short-sighted. I see this as...
I'm going to be strong in saying this. They are a dumb basketball team. Dumb as a rock. If they think they can get through the playoffs playing defensively like they are playing. I don't understand how these guys as a core don't get it. How did they win the championship? They won it because of Jokic, clearly, and Murray played great, and everybody else contributed offensively. But how many games did we watch where they were absolutely suffocating defensively? What don't these guys understand? I mean, they've been in the NBA for a while. They've watched plenty of playoff basketball. And I'm going to use a quote from Nikola Jokic. And this came after the loss to Portland. I think you are who you are in the regular season. That's who you are in the playoffs. I think you can't flip a switch. It really doesn't exist. Amen, brother. And I have said this about the Nuggets organization for 2 decades, going back to Carmelo Anthony, with the exception of the year they won the championship. This franchise has this built-in light switch mentality that they can flip it on and flip it off whenever they feel like it. And right now, they don't have the horses who can play defense, more or less make the effort to play defense.
Eric, think about how much we looked forward to watching the Nuggets 3 years ago. How magical it was to just watch the way that they played, the joy that they played with one another, the understanding of how each other could make their teammates better, the way they defended, all of those things. And compare that to the team that they are now. Now, look, I will still pay money to watch Nikola Jokic play basketball. That part of the equation hasn't changed. But this is not a team that's particularly fun to watch anymore. Their inconsistency, their lack of identity makes them frustrating to watch. You can't sit through a game like the one at home against the Washington Wizards and make an excuse for them. You can't, even with Portland having won 2 straight games coming into their game up in Portland last week, you can't make excuses for a team that is clearly better in the Nuggets than the Portland Trailblazers are and get your butts handed to you the way that they did. That's just unacceptable. And I think that's what Michael Malone is saying. But at some point, and back to Troy's point of view, is the message not being heard? And if it is being heard, is it simply being disregarded? And I think that that's a real question moving forward for the Nuggets, especially if they are an early exit from the playoffs.
Michael Malone is a defensive-minded head coach. He has been with this organization for a very long time. Michael Malone, I think, is a very good coach. I know he gets criticized for this and that. He's a very good coach. He's the winningest coach in Nuggets history. With that, you do have to wonder, has the locker room tuned him out? And if they have, then he needs to go. I'm not saying he should go. I'm not saying he should be fired. There's a difference between losing the locker room and your locker room tuning you out. Mm-hmm. Who lost the locker room? Josh McDaniels lost the locker room. Yeah. It's not that they tuned out Josh McDaniels. He lost it. He was just not well liked. Nathaniel Hackett lost the locker room, right?
Yeah.
For Malone, it's different. Guys play defense. They don't play defense. I mean, what is there really? I know I'm 56 and I'm yelling, get off my lawn. But what don't you guys understand? Well, I mean, seriously, what? But it seems like Malone has been tuned out, because if he's tuned in, they are making more of an effort defensively. Defense in a lot of ways is effort. There's also skill involved. Dennis Rodman was a great defensive player because he studied angles of rebounds. Not a lot of guys have the acumen to do it. A lot of guys don't want to do it. But defense essentially is effort as much as anything else. Some guys can't play defense well because they're not athletic to keep up with the guy in front of him, right? That you can say that's an excuse, and maybe it is a little bit. But sometimes you're playing a guy that you're guarding who's bigger, stronger, and faster than you. And if that's the case, I don't care how hard you try, you're not going to slow that guy down. But what you do need is good team defense as well. So I think there are a lot of different variables with this. But, I mean, Aaron Gordon's a very good defensive player. Mm-hmm. Christian Brown is better than average. Michael Porter Jr. is not a good defensive player. Jamal Murray, I'm sorry, is not a good defensive player. And I hear this all the time, bouncing back and forth. Well, Jokic is better than people think. Well, he's not a rim protector for starters.
Right.
He's average on a scale of 1 to 10. He's probably about a 6.5. But he brings so much on the other end of the floor. Do you really want this guy tiring himself on the defensive end, considering how much he means on the offensive end? And then you look at Strother, who, when they drafted him, they knew he was an offensive player, wasn't a defensive player. Just like with Peyton Watson. Then he was a defensive player, hoping he becomes an offensive player. Russell Westbrook is not a defensive player, no matter how much Michael Malone and Calvin Booth want to talk about, oh, he's better than people think. I've watched enough games. Is he a better defensive player than people are giving him credit for?
No, I mean, he can defend. He doesn't always defend. I would say that, right. And to your point about defense specifically, it's hurt them. He has been a good player for the Nuggets. And I'm talking about Russell Westbrook. He's been that kind of spark plug. There's been a lot of good things that have come from Russell Westbrook coming to Denver. He's had a good year, but he's not a defensive stalwart. They don't really have a guy like that outside of Aaron Gordon, who really will sell himself as a defensive player first. Even Christian Brown, who is a good defender, I agree with you. He's a plus defender. But even he is much more of an offensive guy this year because he's started most of the season and he's had to up his offensive output. So, yeah, I don't see how
you can make the case about Christian Braun, Bruce. Bruce, you can make the case he should get some votes for most improved player in the NBA. You can make that case.
Yeah, I think so. But are they a better team being less defensive? And the answer to me is an unequivocal no, that they are not. I mean, you've got to be able to defend in this league at a certain level, especially in the playoffs. And Nikola Jokic knows what he's talking about. You are who you are. And you carry from the regular season your habits of 82 games into the postseason. It's human nature. We all do it. I don't play defense and you don't play defense in the NBA, but we do it with other things in our lives. It's just the way that it is.
Let me give you not really an analogy necessarily, but if you are a team that with 5 minutes to go in the game, you're down and you consistently come back in those games. You consistently are a comeback team. When the playoffs hit, as a group, you have that confidence with 5 minutes to go. That's our time. We can come back. We know we can do this because we have a history of doing it this season. The Nuggets have no history of playing defense this year, really, with any consistency. So when they're in a playoff game, they can't draw back to something that they did in the regular season. Say, remember when we did this? Remember this game? How we pulled up? There's none of that conversation going on. Now I'm going to go back a couple of years when you and I were doing the show together, when they brought in KCP and they brought in Bruce Brown. What did they do that year? They brought in two guys that filled two glaring holes on this, on not on the roster, but with the overall makeup of the team. They didn't have enough D, and they sure as hell didn't have enough 3. Both those guys brought the D and 3. Now both guys are gone. We talked about it at the beginning of the season on the radio show. They don't have enough D, and they don't have enough 3. And that has played out with 10 games to go in the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. They have been exactly who we thought they were. And it's not a bad thing all the time. I mean, the Nuggets have a chance to finish second, third, fourth in the West, to be a host, to have home court advantage in the first round, maybe even into the second. We'll see how they finish up here. They've got 5 games at home to get hot here. I mean, who knows what will happen? But Eric, how realistic do you see them in a 7-game series with Oklahoma City? I don't think they have a chance in hell to win a 7-game series against Oklahoma City.
They'd be lucky if it went 6. They'd be lucky if it went 6.
Right. I think Houston is a problem as well. I hate to say this. I think the Lakers are a bit of a problem too if they are all healthy right now. I think JJ Redick
hold on a second.
A little bit.
Hold on. This is when we were not doing the radio show.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we heard the narrative. Well, looks like the Lakers found a way to slow down Nikola Jokic. It was one game. It was one game. And what happened in game 1 of the playoffs? Rui, let's put this guy in the Hall of Fame. He's going to Springfield. He showed everybody how to slow down Nikola Jokic. It was one game. This was one game. Jokic is smart enough to figure out anything. I'm not ready to say, and I was listening to all these national putzes saying, oh, well, now they found a way to slow down Jokic.
Yeah.
Do you remember the playoffs a couple of years ago?
I'm not going that far, but I do like the LeBron-Luka dynamic. And I do think it makes them that they're a different kind of animal now, because you got to figure out your coverage on Luka, and that's a bit of an issue. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that they can beat the Lakers. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think the Lakers are in a better position to win in the postseason, but that all remains to be seen. Look, I'm not talking about reaching the playoffs. I'm talking about winning in the playoffs. Right. And I'm not there with the Nuggets where I was in the last 2 years. You knew the Nuggets were going to win games. You knew they were going to win series. Not quite so sure about that now.
Hey, Bruce and Alex, great first show. We christened Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. I think it went okay. What I mean, Bruce, you want to give us a final thought? We're out of time, basically, but give us a quick thought.
I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back together. There are things that I have missed about our brotherhood in the morning that I know that people out there may not probably care as much, but I think that they will care about it as they continue to give us a listen, because it matters when you enjoy the people that you're working with and respect the opinions that they have, even if at times, and in our cases, it'll be fairly regularly, that, my God, we might actually disagree. We're not afraid to disagree with one another. And that's, I think, what makes this show compelling and has a really good chance. So I hope people will continue to find us and give us a chance, because I think that you'll come away better off for the experience.
Alex, you close us out. What do you guys say?
Well, I'm just glad to be doing a morning show with you two again. I've missed it. And I'll say this, you two have not lost anything off your fastball. It's good to be back. That's all I got to say.
Well, for Alex and Bruce, I'm Eric. Thanks for joining the first show, Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. We'll be back tomorrow. We're here 5 days a week, every single day. Make it the best possible morning you can.